All right, so we have our program, and there's just one more thing that I want to talk about. It is the fact that we have these global constants up at the top, this wind width, wind height, and those are variables that you can use throughout all the function definitions. That makes it global. And then constant, all caps, meaning that these guys will never change values, right? And so when you're programming, you have decisions to make, and one of them is when I make my variables, should they be global or should they be local? And you got to judge the consequences and make a decision for yourself. Now, in your mind's eye, as like a green programmer, somebody who's just starting out, for you, it's like, yeah, everything should be global because that makes my life easier, which because that means there's less arguments that I need to pass into a function definition. There's less parameters I need to define. It just makes life easier. Now, that's not good. So the general consensus is that global variables are bad and local variables are good. All right, so keeping everything local is the best programming practice, and making everything global is not. And so you've been working on small programs, which means you don't have the vision to see why that's true, right? Now, take this imaginary walk with me. Pretend that we've fast forwarded 10 years into the future. You've studied computer science at university. You've worked as a entry-level software engineer for 4 or 5 years. You're now at a senior level position, right? So you're given a project, a big programming project, and you have 10 people working underneath you. You take that big project and you split it into 10 equal parts, and you hand it to your 10 entry-level software engineers who are working underneath you. They all program, and they're all coming with the same mindset you are. Let's make everything global, right? So they go ahead and program, and all of their variables are global. Most likely, they're all going to be using the same overlapping variable names, like X position, Y. But let's say it's a video game, right? Health, I don't know, right? So these variables are going to have the same names. So then when they come back to you and they give you their code, you're going to copy and paste it all into one file, and nothing's going to work because you're going to have these global variables that are going to have the same names, right? So that's a problem. Now reimagine that you have a team of software developers that understand that globals are bad and locals are good. So when they go to program, they make all of their variables local, right? When they're finished and you go ahead and copy and paste all their code into one file, everything's going to work the same because all of their variables only exist in the functions that they were created in, right? So global variables are bad, local variables are good. That's not to say that you never use global variables, right? Now let's go ahead and look at our program. We have this pen turtle that we're using, right? And he's local to main, but we're using him in all these different function definitions, right? Clear tracer, we're using him in color box, horizontal pen, we're using him everywhere. So it's like pass, 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 pass. This is a pretty good argument for making pen global, right? And if we make pen global, then that means we need to make the screen global, right? Because you can't have the pen, you can't create a turtle until before you create the screen. So you have to have the screen first, then create the turtle. So if we make pen global, then WN should be global as well. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and take these guys out, and I'm going to define them out here. Notice that I am not making them all caps, right? So they're not constant, meaning pen can change value. It can become a different turtle later on in our program. That's fine. Okay. So I put them out here. What does that mean? Now that means I can go ahead and see pen everywhere in my program, right? Which means I don't need to pass it into color box. I don't need to pass it into horizontal. So I'm going to take them out of horizontal, take them out of the argument list to color box, and I'm going to take them out of clear tracer. All right. So now let's go ahead and run our program, see if everything works the same. Oh, that's not the program. This is the program. And so it doesn't, because it says only one argument in horizontal, right? So what does that mean? That means over here in horizontal, it's saying it takes in one argument, right? Because there's one parameter listed. But down here, I am calling it with 0 arguments because I took out pen. I made them global, right? So I came back up here. I'm going to take away p. I'm going to replace p with pen, the name of my global variable, like that. I'm going to do the same thing with vertical. Replace p with pen, the global variable. And same thing with tracer. Clear tracer. Replace p with the global variable. And color box as well. I'm going to take out p. And I'm going to replace p with pen, the global variable. And then let's go ahead and see if everything runs the same. Oop, that end fill should be right there. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and run my program. And everything works the same. Right? So looks good. We're ready to go. And as you program, if you decide to make a variable global, there should be a good reason for it. Okay? And so I've decided that instead of passing pen to all of these different function definitions, it's easier to make it global. Okay, so I went ahead and did that, made that executive decision. And it's an important one, right? It should be a decision that you will be able to argue for, right? If somebody comes to you, a different program, and says, hey, why'd you make these guys global? You should be able to say, well, you know what? It saved me a lot of time because I actually passed it to every single function definition. And so, and then I had to receive it as a parameter. So instead of doing all that, since it's used almost everywhere in almost every function definition, I just made it global, and that's the reason why, right? So you should be able to argue for that choice. Okay, so one more thing I would want to add to this program would be this 50, right? You see this program, we see 50 everywhere. 50 here, 50 here, 50 here, 50 here, right? 50 here. So a better way of setting, like let's say we're looking at our program and we don't want our grid boxes to be 50, size 50. We want our grid boxes to be size 10. We want more resolution. We want the boxes to be smaller, right? So what would I need to do? I need to go in here and change that to 10, change that to 10. I would need to go back and change all of these values to 10 instead of being 50. So a better way of setting this up would be to come up to the top, to where our global variables are, right? And let's call it box dim or something like that, box dimension, and let's make that 50, right? Notice all caps and global. So box dim is not going to change value after I run my program. I'm going to come here, and I'm not going to move 50 anymore. I'm going to move box dim, right? So I come over here, and I'm not going to move 50 anymore. I am going to move box dim. Okay. And then I'm down here. Well, I guess actually this one should be 50. Okay. So the clear tracer, doesn't have to do with the dimensions of the box actually. This one does though, right here, right? So I'm going to use box dim. This one does as well. This is where I'm drawing the box, right? And so I made them all box dim. Now, why is this better? Why is this more helpful? Because let's say I did want to change. Well, first of all, let's check to see if the program works the same way it did before. Right, it does, right? Everything's the same. So now let's say I don't want the box dim to be 50 anymore, right? I want more resolution. I want it to be 10. So I don't need to go here and change it to 10, 10, 10, 10, 10 throughout my program. I just need to come to the top and change box dim to 10. And then if I go ahead and run my program, then voila, I have a higher resolution, right? I can come back up and I could change it to 100 and you'll get an even higher resolution of your screen. No, you will not. Oh, I'm sorry, not 100. 100. That's 100 wide. Let's make it 5. Right. So I come back, and this is what I get. Right. So let's go ahead and make that change. And the last video I'm going to show you is a couple of extra credit projects that you can work on if you'd like.